Hello, today I'm looking at a German Pinot Noir, or Spatburgunder to give its correct name here. We're looking at a wine from an estate called Koehler Ruprecht. It's a 2019 vintage, and this is a Kabinett Spätburgunder, and it's made in a Trocken or dry style, unsurprisingly. Koehler Ruprecht are based in Kallstadt in the Rheinpfalz, or Palatinate if you prefer that nomenclature. And they're very highly regarded. They're aiming to make with this quite a sort of a light, elegant, delicate style of Pinot, particularly for the Kabinett style, I guess. The wines here are made with very little sort of deliberate intervention. So they ferment with ambient yeasts. They're allowed to go through their malolactic conversion completely naturally, and they're just sort of bottled with a light filtration. There's no temperature control. They age in old oak. The fruit for this is destemmed, but I'm assuming there's a fair amount of whole berry fermentation goes on in stainless steel tank for 3 to 5 weeks. It's then pressed and the juice run off into old oak barrels. The barrels used are relatively large. There's a selection of 1,200 litre Stuck or 2,400 litre Doppelstuck barrels being used, all old wood, so no sort of cedary, new oak or vanilla influences coming in there. So let's have a taste of the wine, shall we? I'll have a look at it first. The colour, I would say there's quite a dark pigmentation, but it's not particularly deep. I can see through that really easily. But it's not a pale red. It has a certain amount of intense pigmentation, and it's a ruby red. There's no purple in there in terms of youthful colour or anything like that. Swirling it, it's not particularly throwing sort of any tears onto the glass. The wine's only 12.5% alcohol according to its label, so I wouldn't, and it's completely dry, so I wouldn't expect it to be hugely viscous. So let's have a look at the aromas. And those are elegant and perfumed. I almost wonder at first if they're slightly confected, but there's a really lifted sort of note of soft red fruits, so sort of wild strawberries, raspberry, maybe getting on into sort of mulberry and possibly red cherry notes, but sort of quite piquant lifted red cherries. There isn't a massive presence of oak. There's a little bit of sort of earthy, truffly development starting to show there, which is, yes, very enticing. And perhaps just a sort of a dusting of sweet spice across the top. So let's have a taste and see what we think. It's dry, it's light, it's perfumed. The fruit perhaps has more richness on the palate than on the nose. I'm not getting the sort of the lifted wild strawberry notes, but I am getting a sort of slightly more concentrated, more sort of red berry to perhaps prune, and the earthy notes are coming through again, those sort of truffly, really quite attractive notes. And this is all supported by lovely acidity. There's a mouth-watering freshness to the wine. It's giving a lovely length. It's relatively light-bodied, but there is a little tannic structure and grip. There's almost a sort of a like sort of a dusting of cocoa, that sort of texture there. You can feel the very fine tannins creating its mid palate there. The alcohol's not intruding really, and the finish is fresh and has an almost a red cherry juiciness to it. And perhaps some slightly more lifted notes as well. I think with time, it won't need long. I think three to 5 years to sort of develop this. Will start to show some really complex bottle-aged sort of truffly notes that will make it a beautiful pairing with a vast range of foods. Yeah, although it's very attractive now, and I think the wine would probably age for a decade or so, but I don't think there's a necessity to do that because it's very attractive now. So yes, that was Koehler Ruprecht's Spätburgunder Kabinett Trocken from 2019. Yes, if you found that interesting, do please join us again. Bye now.